Ozone.ie. Fighting back against COVID-19 and getting people back to work. Top Ozone.ie. T's and C's apply.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power. We love the beautiful game more than Olivier Giroud loves the near post. Gamble responsibly. CWE.net.
We have to change from doubter to believer.
Liverpool win, I will be the first to congratulate them because we cannot deny how good they are.
But this is my life, and this is where I belong, and this is what really makes me happy.
Nuno Espirito Santo sounds like a hymn. I had to learn from confirmation that name.
Well, he gave us a rendition of it earlier on. Will you give us a rendition now?
No.
I'm just looking at this United team, and they're way below the standards you normally associate with the great Manchester United team. But that is the standard by which we'll judge that Manchester United. As simple as that.
That happens in football. You've just got to be strong and take it, because we've won so many games that way.
It hasn't been a classic United performance. There's a chance for three. Rashford on the edge of the area gets the shot off and scores! 2 goals in as many minutes, and Old Trafford goes absolutely wild.
Headed in the air by Chambers, and it's knocked in by Emerick Aubameyang, and there's the opening goal.
Decent ball into the area, and it's met by Richarlison, who puts Everton back in front for the 3rd time in this game. It's Alexander-Arnold! Smashes it into the top corner. Trent Alexander-Arnold, you ain't gonna stop that.
Atmosphere was brilliant. Everything is fine. We won the first game 4-1, and we know we have 37 to go.
And it's just a problem. I'm looking and thinking, are you watching your opponent? Are you seeing their strengths and weaknesses and countering that?
I was stunned by the fact it was the first time ever in my life I watched a goal live in the gents' toilet of a football stadium. It just, the level of plushness overcame me almost.
The way we played was awesome. So one of the best performances we have played. We play in the way, the reason why we are back-to-back champions.
Sets it to the back post. Might come to Jordan Henderson. Jordan Henderson has equalised for Liverpool. Mo Salah to centre for Liverpool. Salah scores in front of the Kop, and Liverpool are going 16 points clear at the top of the Premier League table. And Alisson runs the length of the pitch to celebrate. It's 2-0 at Anfield, and it never heard noise like it. Mo Salah wins the game for Liverpool. Only as far as Fabinho, 20 yards out, urged to shoot, don't shoot! Oh, what a goal for Fabinho! What a strike! Wow! From 25 yards out, right-footed, smashes the shot past Claudio Bravo.
You know, to win a league, sometimes you need those bits of luck that Liverpool got today.
To Salah at the back post, Salah with the header! What a goal! That is as good as it gets from Liverpool. 96 on the clock, a number so important to Liverpool Football Club. Silence at Stamford Bridge, but roars of celebration from around the world, because Liverpool are the champions of England, finally. And if they didn't believe me, they believe me now.
From doubter to believer.
After 30 years of waiting, 30 years that saw them knocked off their perch, but Liverpool are back.
Becoming chairman with this club is absolutely incredible.
And Jordan Henderson proudly lifts that Premier League trophy high above his head. Liverpool finally arrive at the end of that storm with their heads held high, and they are the Premier League winners, and they have the trophy to show for it.
Yeah, there we are. That is the 2019-20 season done and dusted. And as of the weekend, United and Chelsea beating Leicester and Wolves 2-0 respectively, go into Champions League football. Spurs will join Leicester in Europe. Bournemouth and Watford join Norwich in the Championship. And there was the great escape for Aston Villa. For the final time to talk about the 19-20 season on July 27th, let's go to this man. Well, not one we would have predicted at the start of the year, to say the least. Pat Nevin, good evening.
Yeah, July 27th. Do you know how long you've held back my holidays here? Not at all, because I'm speaking to you from a hotel in Athens.
Oh, very good. Very nice.
I kind of held back as much as I possibly could until the last game there. But it was an interesting season. Do you know what the thing about it is? I was really happy that it had a kind of exciting end. You know, there was a bit of tension near the end because, you know, after we had that kind of big break in the middle of the season, and you're thinking, should we go on with it, should we not go on with it? is it the right thing to do? And I think in hindsight now, the way it was done, the professionalism of the Premier League, and I take my time before I say that phrase, but this time they nailed it. It was the right thing to do, and I certainly think it gave a lot of people, not just in England, all over, Europe, the world, to get that bit of lift to be able to sit and watch football games and be excited by them a lot of the time as well. It was good. Well done, football. Stepped up to the plate this time.
You've taken the words out of my mouth. I was going to start on that point because it would be easy to skip over it and forget that throughout March and April and May, many of us were writing this off as an impossibility. It was dubbed Mission Impossible for a long time. It was getting acrimonious in all sorts of different ways. And they pulled it off relatively very, very well, safely, and all the games went ahead. You got to kind of hold your hands up and say they managed to make the best of a really tough situation.
And I have to say, I was ultra positive right from the start about prep for it, and I just thought, look, you've got to give it a go. You've got to try and do the things right. They've got enough money to throw at it to be able to try and do this right. So give them a chance to do it. Hey, and if there's another spike at the time, then you accept it and it doesn't happen, but you've got to be prepped for it when it happens. And I thought they did, as you say, did a great job. And I was, without being bullish, hopefully I was sensible all the way through it. But I understand. I wouldn't call people doom mongers or naysayers. I would just explain that, people were understandably frightened and scared and took the sanctity of life as an important thing as well. So, look, I was never angry with anyone, but it was the right thing to do. They got it right. And in the end, when you think about it, the way it was beforehand for the likes of, some of the ministers over in the UK government having a dig at footballers, they got that completely wrong, because when you think of how they reacted to the Black Lives Matter, the way that Rashford reacted, when he reacted and stood up and spoke about, getting kids free schools meals, it was fantastic for them as well. And then, taking the knee, every single player doing that, and, then providing an entertainment for everyone. So without saying, football's always fabulous, brilliant, great, this time they kind of got it right. I'm kind of happy they kind of deserved it because they made a big effort to it, and very few, if any, did the wrong things. Just during the lockdown, there was a couple of players who stepped out of line. But apart from that, generally, the game got it right this time. I'm kind of happy they did. Yeah, it would have been very easy to get it very wrong. If we start at the bottom before working our way up, Bournemouth and Watford will join Norwich in the Championship. On Bournemouth and Eddie Howe, they're a very likeable club in many ways. Eddie Howe's a very likeable manager. They're still, and have been generally in their 5 years in the Premier League, conceding lots of goals. They conceded 60-odd goals this season. The difference this year is that they scored 16 fewer goals. They have the lowest tally from open play, actually, in the league. I'm not quite sure why that would happen or why that happened. You don't suspect Eddie Howe has become stale in any way, and he still talks about being as committed as ever. I think they've overperformed for a long, long, long time. I think you got to stand and applaud the guy for what he's actually managed to get out of that club for such a long, long time. However, it was eventually going to come and get you. Players were playing at the absolute limit of their capabilities, scoring at the limit of their capabilities. The spirit was absolutely incredible. They carried a little bit of luck now and again as well. But the fact that they lasted as long as they did in the Premier League, teams learn you. They do learn what you're capable of doing. And, they did learn that about Eddie and what his team was doing, but even so, they stuck to it. So I think I'm impressed with the team has gone down, and I'm impressed with them. Well done. Tried to play good football. It was an exciting open thing, but when you look at certain injuries they had at certain times, at the start of the season, they had a big bunch of injuries with defenders. And then they had Nathan Ake out at this really important part at the end of the season, and other players too. And that is the difference with some clubs just now. You kind of sit back from it a wee bit and you think, right, what did Aston Villa have to bring in? Well, they brought in Trezeguet, who did really, really well. They brought in certain other players. They got lucky. They got McGinn back just when they needed him. The layoff worked for them. And that's kind of sometimes what it is. It's not tactics. It's not anything complicated like that. It's actually simply you got a bit of luck and you had the right kind of strength of squad. And even just, one or two players refusing to play or not being able to play at the end of the season because they wanted to sign contracts elsewhere. A simple thing like that can kill you as a club as well. And I was saddened for them, but not even slightly surprised that they went down this time. If you were advising Eddie Howe, is now the time for him to move on? No, that's gone. I'm afraid. I think that was a while ago. I think his star was really high, but through no fault of his own, just the way life is and just the way football is, you know, he's got a relegation. You know, and it's on his CV there. It shouldn't in any way. Most of us would sit back and say, no, come on, that's a bit unfair. But it's on the CV there. And that's, so is he going to get the next Arsenal job, etc., something like that? No, he probably isn't. He's going to have to take something else apart from that. Whereas there was a time where I think maybe if he'd have pushed it, that could have happened. I admire him for not doing it. I actually think the sensible thing is if he's got a club that's going to stick with him, they've got the parachute payments going down, there's every likelihood they could come back up again. And if he comes back up again, his star has risen again. And maybe that's the time to go.
OK. What about Jack Grealish and Aston Villa? So they managed to survive. They were 7 points from safety 2 weeks ago. It's been borderline miraculous, really. I don't think anybody saw that coming. And Grealish has been a big part of that. He's turning 25 this year. We were just chatting in the news round before you came on. And we're all pretty much in agreement that what are you waiting for? You know, what is the point in hanging around for another year or two beyond... I was going to use the phrase misguided. It's not misguided, but beyond loyalty to your boyhood club.
You can actually see it with certain other players. For Jack Grealish now, look at Wilfried Zaha 2 years ago. You know, that was the moment. If you move now, you could have 5, 6, 7 years, whatever, at top club. You could be not if necessarily the main player, but certainly one of that group of players. And I suspect Zaha's chance may well have just about gone. I mean, he might get a big move now, but will it have the same effect now? I'm not 100% sure. And Grealish is there. He's right there right now. And though it would hurt me to say it, for his own career and to find out how far he can go, this is the time. And it is. It's not next year. It's not next season, because every Villa fan will be furious and angry and upset. But they'll be upset anyway when it happens. That's going to happen. You know, if he does it at 28, 29, they'll still be upset. If he did it at 31, they go, well, fair enough then. Which is too late, you know, if you're going to find out. And of course, if he's got the talent, he's got the ability, but whether he has got the temperament. And that's a bigger thing now, I think, than it's ever been. You know, if you look at Pep Guardiola's of this world and, you know, even Jurgen Klopp, they're bringing people into the club. And I would say Frank Lampard as well. They're bringing people into the club, and they don't want anyone who's misbehaving. They don't want anyone who's going to embarrass the club, who's going to negatively affect the brand, who's also, not just the brand, but also affect, you know, the feeling within the group, within the team, that nobody behaves out of step, so far out of step they embarrass the group. And Jack has to be really careful, because he has done in the past, and he has done in the recent past. Yeah. And it's kind of really, I think it's working against him a lot more than he would imagine with the top 4-ish clubs at the moment. But even so, we know he's good enough. I don't think there's any doubt about that. He's absolutely good enough to be one of the creative players in one of the top teams. But will City go for him? I doubt it. Will Chelsea go for him? Don't need him. You know, you start looking down with Arsenal, yeah, it would kind of make a bit of sense. But you're kind of going down. Liverpool, can't say they would need him, really. He would add to the squad, but would he add more than that just to the squad? And he wouldn't be the right type for Liverpool as well. So it's a tricky one, but I don't think it's going to get any easier. Yeah, that's a very interesting point. A man who in his 10 years in Manchester didn't exactly grab the headlines aside from football was David Silva, and he got the send-off. He deserved more, you know, he deserved a better send-off yesterday, but he got the send-off after City's win against Norwich yesterday. And it's prompted debate about just where he ranks and just where he stands. I know you're such a fan. So recency bias being what it is, whenever said player is departing, everybody says amazing things about him. And he's you know, Graham Souness, amongst others, has called him maybe the best foreign import. Where is he pitching in amongst, and I'll give you kind of, if I was just to dispassionately throw down the foreign import names, Henry, Ronaldo, probably have Aguero in that top 5 anyway. Shearer has him at number 1. You'd have Cantona for sheer impact. Yaya at his best. Vieira at his best. Van Nistelrooy. Kompany. Stam exceptional. Drogba exceptional. I have him kind of pitching in somewhere after that alongside the likes of, it's not a slight, the likes of Bergkamp, Pires, Zola, Suarez, if he'd been here longer, maybe Makelele. Where are you putting Silva? See, when you mentioned the Bergkamps and the Zolas and that other group, and I put them in that group above them because the creativity, because you look back and you think, oh, what about all the goals? Somebody has to make them as well, and somebody has to, and the making of the goal for me has always been as important, sometimes more important, because the guy can get on the end of it. And now, all those guys you mentioned there, yes, they're perfectly capable of creating goals out of nothing themselves, which they did. But more often than not, the real top ones are the centre forwards and the strikers and the guys with all the numbers there. The goals are being created for them. Now, for me, it puts them on a par. I mean, I remember throughout my career, I scored a certain amount of goals and a certain amount of assists. The assists were just as important for me. Exactly the same. Possibly even slightly more enjoyable because you knew there was something sort of intelligent about that. Yes,
you're such a hipster. It's unbelievable.
I know, but it's true. That's how I felt, and it was all the way through my career. If you gave me a good goal or a great assist, I'll take a great assist every day of the year. Yeah. And that's why some of us look at the likes of Silva and De Bruyne and things and think, well, don't understand why you don't see the personality, time on that he's done it year after year after year after year. The effect that he has on the group and the team. The fact that it's not all about him, it's about the team, and he will give himself for the team some days as well. You put it all together, and it's impossible to. I mean, even just looking at it to him, you can't compare Drogba and David Silva. It doesn't work. But is he up there in my favourite players? He is. Have I enjoyed watching anybody more than him in the Premier League era? Probably not. I mean, really, and I see De Bruyne is getting close to him. I love the Zola team. I love Kanta. There's various ones I've really loved, but have I enjoyed watching? No, I go to Man City, and I see Man City a lot and have done a lot in the flesh as well. And I turn up every time, smiling, excited, thinking, yeah, I hope David's playing today. I really hope David Silva's playing today. And when he is, I'm smiling, and he rarely let you down.
Meanwhile, Manchester United and Chelsea have Champions League football. When Bruno Fernandes arrived on the 30th of January, United were 13 points away from third spot. It's been quite the turnaround for them. Leicester seem to have gone off a cliff somewhat. For Solskjaer, I mean, you just probably can't overstate the importance of this. He would have been massively on the back foot at the start of the next season. Now, he probably has an authority to get the 2, 3, 4, however many players he needs. And I was going to ask you, what do they need? Roy Keane was asked this on the TV yesterday, and he listed off pretty much every position on the pitch. So, do they need a goalkeeper? Do they need another centre-half? Do they need a left-back? And then probably a higher calibre of the Jesse Lingard types to come in? Do they need a striker?
But by the way, do you know anyone who doesn't need a centre-back? You can try to think about it. Does anyone not need a centre-back?
Yeah.
Another centre-back? Well,
Liverpool probably.
Well, they've got 2 decent centre-backs, but you could do another really good cover one. It would be really handy. But they probably don't need it because they're going to score enough goals anyway and create enough anyway. So, yes, they could do another centre-back. We know that. The De Gea thing is not going to go away. It's been too long now. It's been too difficult for him now. And the fact that people now know that he's not commanding in the box, that's going to make a big difference as well. People are going to have an effect on that and go to that. I don't think they do need anything up front. I think they're okay. Maybe a little bit of backup, but if Ighalo's not going to do it, then another Ighalo type will be fine. I think there's enough creativity there. And Greenwood, it's just because I rate Greenwood so highly.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just phenomenal and will continue to score goals for the next decade for them. So no problem there. It's just that big if. It keeps on being a big if. Pogba does it all the time. With Bruno there as well, then it's fine. It's absolutely great. The squad looks good.
The League Managers Association have just announced Jurgen Klopp as Manager of the Year. Chris Wilder, 2nd. Gareth Ainsworth of Wickham is 3rd and Bielsa 4th. It's kind of hard to argue against Klopp, even though arguably Wilder has done the more miraculous thing.
He has. No, without a doubt, he has. But you have to give it to Klopp and just with the feverish pitch it is over here. Do you know over here in Athens?
It's feverish there too.
Yeah, it definitely is. But the weird thing, I mean, I look at it, if it was given to Wilder, you'd say fine. You wouldn't complain about it. I know a lot of people are saying, hey, if Frank Lampard wins the FA Cup this year, having dragged this team from where they were, almost from nowhere, with no spending, You know, if you said he was in the top 3, you wouldn't have argued with that either. There's quite a lot of good shouts out there, but Wilder, you know, it's never going to happen again. He's never going to get an opportunity again. That was the opportunity. But if I'd been voting, yeah, I'd have given it to Klopp, and I don't think I would have thought too long and too hard about it, purely because of the effect that, you know, Liverpool winning it. And I sometimes don't know why. I honestly don't know. Yeah, I was talking to when I was at the last game of the season, at Liverpool-Chelsea game. So I was at the game, and I was just surrounded by ex-Liverpool players. All the media people were all ex-Liverpool players except me, right? And I was saying, why is it? Can you people tell me, why is it this is being celebrated more than any other championship in the last 30 years, with the possible exception of Leicester City? With the possible exception of Leicester. Why is it so extremely... United have won it, Chelsea have won it, Man City have won it. It's not like this. It's nothing like this. And I mean, partially the fans, but also in the media and the length, the time it's been, and the build-up and the talk. It's extraordinary. I've seen nothing like it. And I was saying, can you tell me why it is? Is it just because it's been 30 years? You know, and it's... But I don't know. I don't know. Do you have an idea?
Well...
Because I don't... Do you agree with that? Because...
No, I don't know if I do. I mean, they are an exceptional fan base, I suppose. It's a pretty special city, and they're pretty bonded, given Hillsborough and the fight, and then I guess in the middle of it there's Klopp, isn't there? I mean, if it was a different manager, I don't know, would it be as feverish? If Rafa Benitez was there, would it all be as, you know, magical and combustible and hugs and everybody wants to play for Liverpool right now?
And to be honest, I asked the question because I'd like the answer. Not because I'm biting at it or anything, or I'm annoyed by it or anything. I'm just intrigued by it because I've watched people win the Premier League most years, and you go, yeah, you win it, and then you celebrate it, and you get a wee mention later in the news, and then you move on the next day to the FA Cup, which is coming up. Not been like that at all. The build-up's been months in the making.
Yeah.
And it has been like that. But good luck to them. And it's, apart from the fact, do you know, if they were a dull team, then I would get a wee bit miffed by it. They're not. They're a great team to watch. They're fantastic. And they're a joy to watch. And there was parts of the game in that 5-3 game against Chelsea, honestly, it was, I'm sure you watched it, but there was bits of that game that were absolutely hilarious. They were so brilliant for a period of time there. And then they just lost it and Chelsea got back into it. And it was the best of them. It was the best of, you know, maybe English football at that point in time. The madness and the mayhem of it. And the fact that the teams at the top, they're all fabulous attack-minded teams. Liverpool are attack-minded team. City are. Chelsea are.
Yeah.
Manchester United are. And it's just great that that's what's winning now. That is what is winning now.
Yes, long may that continue. Listen, we'll park things for the time being. Football pretty much continues right through August and beyond, so we'll be talking. Thanks a million, Pat.
Look forward to it, and enjoy the FA Cup final next week. I'm sure I will.
Cheers. Bye. Pat Nevin there.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power. As potent as Rashford and Fernandes. Post-lockdown. Gamble responsibly. CWE.net.
As the new government commits to abolishing direct provision, News Talk examines the much